Hi everyone, in this video I'll be showing you how to use Chakra UI to style a headless UI component. You all know that I love Chakra UI. Chakra UI is my go-to component library when building applications, but there are times that I really want to use a component and it's not present in Chakra UI. For example, at the time of this recording, this carousel component is not in Chakra UI. However, it's in our headless UI component called Ark UI. So what do I do, right? In this video, I'll be showing you how to style this carousel component in Ark UI using Chakra UI. I'll walk you through step by step on the installation of Ark UI in your project, adding styles to different parts of the headless component, and the end result is this beautiful carousel that has been styled using Chakra UI. So without further ado, let's jump into the tutorial. To get started with Ark UI, you want to go to the website ark-ui.com and then click Get Started button. So this will take you to all the installation guides and the components that are available in Ark UI. So one focus on the installation command. So we copy this and we're going to our terminal, open up our terminal and we'll paste, we run the command. So to get Ark UI installed into your project, you run pnpm install at arcui/react. Now that Ark UI is installed into our project, the next thing is to go over to the carousel component, which is the headless component that we want to use. To use the basic carousel component in Ark UI, we're just going to copy this. This is the React code, so it's important for me to mention that Ark UI is currently present in React, Solid, and Vue. So we'll be focusing on React. So I copy this basic usage of Ark UI and I go into my project. I already have a carousel unstyled file in my project, and this is the same thing as what was on the documentation, the basic carousel. So let's walk through the different parts of this carousel component. We have a carousel.root, the item group, the control, the previous trigger, which is just saying previous. We have the carousel indicator group, and this will make sense shortly. And obviously we have a carousel.next trigger, which is like the next button. So let's see how this shows up as it is headless. So we see that the images, of course, they look ugly right now. It has a very large height or width. The buttons are unstyled and images have different sizes. So we're going to fix that shortly. To get started styling the different parts of Ark UI using Chakra, the function or the method that will work for us is the Chakra factory. So the Chakra factory allows us to style the different parts of the headless component. So we can style the root, we can style the control, and all other parts. So of course, at the top of my project here, I import Chakra, which is the Chakra factory from Chakra UI React. Now we can begin to add styles to the different parts using Chakra factory. So let's get started by styling this carousel root part, right? So to style our carousel root, we're going to call this carousel. We're going to call this part a carousel root. I'm going to use our Chakra factory that we imported. So Chakra factory takes two arguments. The first argument is the specific part of the component, and in this case this is called the carousel.root. So that's the first argument. The second argument are then the styles that you want to apply to this root. So I put in a base key, which is really how Chakra UI works under the hood as a recipe. So the styles I want to apply to the root, first thing I want to display to be flex. I also want to align the items as center and set the flex direction as column. So this way I've been able to pass styles to my carousel.root. It's called carousel root. So I'm just going to copy this and change this to the styled components that I have at the top. Carousel root. Carousel root. This is exactly the same process that we'll take to style the different parts that we need. So the next part is the indicator. So You know what? Let's go into Ark UI and I want to show you the different parts so it makes sense. The root is the container, right, of the entire carousel. The indicator are this little small dots here, and the indicator group are the the container containing all these indicators. As you can see, this is the next trigger and previous trigger. So it's important to understand the anatomy of the headless component so that you can know how to apply styles to them. So let's see what we have based on our styles. We see that we just, more or less added a V-stack to the overall container. So this is centered right now. So the next thing we want to do is to style the indicators, which are the little buttons. We can't see them now. So let's go back to our code to style the indicator. So I'm going to call this indicator. I'm using our Chakra factory. As usual, the first argument is the part that we want to style, which is carousel.indicator. And the second argument is the style. So I'm going to give it a couple of styles here. I'm going to make it like have a width and height of 12 pixels. Height is 12 pixels. And then I'll give it a background color of gray dot 300 so that we're able to see it. And I want this to be round, so I give it a border radius of 4, which is a token in Chakra UI. So we have our indicator already styled. We need to then replace the indicator part with that styled component, which is here, right here. So I'm just going to replace it with indicator. Perfect. So now we notice that, our indicator shows up like the styles that we already applied. One thing you can say is these indicators are too, close together. We need to add a bit of space to them. And to do this tells us that we can add styles to the indicator group, that is the container around all these indicators. So go back to our code, and underneath here, let's say we want to style the indicator group. And I use the Chakra factory as well. You already know, right? We're going to call this carousel.indicator group. Indicator group. And now for our styles that we want to apply, we use the base key and specify the styles that should be applied to the indicator group. So of course, the first thing is we want it to be like a form of flex. So we set display to flex. And now we set a gap of 3, which is the spacing between the indicator items or the indicators. We set the width to fit content. And we align self to center. Align self and center. So copy this. And then go down to the indicator group to switch to what we just styled. Indicator group. Yep. Yeah, this is exactly what we want. Looking good already, but of course you can notice that a couple of styles still need to be applied to make our carousel look pretty. So one thing I want to change here is I want to change these triggers, the previous trigger and the next trigger. I want it to be icon buttons, right? So we can do this by switching, these two icon buttons from Chakra UI. So I'm importing icon button from Chakra UI React. Within this icon button, let's add in an icon. I already have Lucid icons installed in my project. You can use any third-party React icon you want. So the icon I want on my previous is the chevron left icon. Yep, that's it. Icon button takes a couple of pops. The first is, let's set the size to small size. And I want the area label to say previous slide. Icon button is wrapped within the previous trigger, but I really want the icon button to, function as the previous trigger. So I'm going to pass the as child pop to it so that all the properties, or the functionalities of previous trigger automatically goes to the icon button. So let's see what we have. Yeah, this is looking good, but of course I want the variant to be a ghost variant. So right here I'm going to add variant as ghost. So yep, that is exactly what we want. So we repeat similar thing for our next trigger. So to do that, I'm literally going to copy all of this and replace it here. Of course, the icon is going to be chevron light icon. Import it. Area label is next slide. And then we pass the as child up to this. Everything else stays the same. So let's see what we have. Exactly what we want. Now we have the previous trigger, we have the next trigger, but I really want all of them to sit on the same line such that the previous trigger is on the left, the indicators, and this is on the right. So this tells us that we can use flex and some additional styles. Going back into my code, the part of the component that we need to style is our carousel.control. That's the part that contains all of these items. So at the top of my file here, I'm just going to call this carousel control. Carousel.control. And now the styles I want to apply, let's set it. First one is display. I want this to be flex display. Once I justify content to space between, I set align items to center. Give them a gap of 4. Let me set a bit of border radius on the entire container. This would be a large border radius. Box shadow. Make this large as well. So the styles are really up to you, right? You can use whatever styles that you want, however you want your carousel control to look like. And for me, I'm going to add in a padding of 4 and a margin top of 4 as well. So like, I replaced carousel control with this. Yep. This is exactly what we want. So one thing you may ask yourself is, it's important, right, for you to get feedback on the particular index or photo that you're on. When we inspect the indicators, this for example, you can see that Ark UI gives us a data-current class on the current indicator. So this tells us that we can style the current indicator. So we go back to our indicator styles, and right here I'm going to use underscore current to style the current indicator background. So I'm just going to give this a blue dot 400 color. So this way we then get feedback on the particular slide or carousel that we are on, and that is just perfect. So now that the control is done, one thing you can instantly tell is that the sizes of the images vary, right? This tells us that we can use the image component from Chakra UI to give a specific size to all the images and just make all of these things clean. So in our carousel right here that has the image, I'm just going to import image from Chakra UI right here. Now image takes a source, so I'm going to copy this prop, paste it in here, same with our alt tag, copy it, paste it in. This also allows us to add a height prop directly. So height, I'm going to set my height for the image to, let's say, 600 pixels. and set the width to full. Width, spell full. So take this out, and then let's see. Yep. So this way, the image component that we use from Chakra UI has been able to contain all the images on the carousel. This is exactly what we were working towards. So to recap, we installed Ark UI into our project. We went through the documentation to understand the different parts of Ark UI, that is the anatomy of the parts. And then we imported Chakra Factory at the top of our project, as Chakra Factory helps us tile the different parts of the Ark UI components. After this is done, we replace the styled components with the different parts of the Ark UI components, and we came up with this. So go ahead to try this carousel components in your projects, or even go ahead to try out the different headless components in Ark UI that are currently present in Chakra UI. Follow the same exact steps to get the same outcome. And I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. I'll see you in another one.